Good morning and welcome. My name is Nancy Hermiston and I am the University Marshal and a professor in the School of Music, Voice and Opera Divisions at the University of British Columbia. I am so thrilled you could join us this morning for a very special ceremony as we install UBC's 19th Chancellor, the Honourable Steven Point. Thank you for joining us for this virtual ceremony. Over the next 45 minutes, we invite you to join us as we acknowledge this university tradition. Due to special considerations in light of the COVID-19 global pandemic, our virtual platform party this morning will join you from different locations. Our president will join you live from the Chan Center for the Performing Arts. Our new Chancellor and other special guests will join us live from remote locations, and some have sent us greetings in advance of the ceremony that we'll share with you this morning. Our virtual platform today includes representatives and witnesses from Indigenous communities, governing bodies, and the university community who will share welcomes, acknowledgements, and special ceremony and protocols. Our Chancellor will share his first address. Following our ceremony, please visit virtualgraduation.ubc.ca for a link to official greetings from other Canadian post-secondary institutions, to learn more about our new Chancellor, or to watch a recording of the ceremony later on. Friends, I hope you'll join me in welcoming Chancellor Point in his role as Chancellor of UBC. Please enjoy the ceremony.
Hello, everyone. I te qw刈l, te swallow qw̕l namet qw̕l te sans tamuker gemaskam. Te talaten te swallow qw̕l namet is that is something need te swallow. I tap kasem nasya. Wanana I tenishkwalawan kon se kots nama qw̕l ne pepitstama tana whale see sto high tap kasem. I'm really proud to be here today as a representative of Musqueam. Ayasluk is my Musqueam name, and I'm a descendant of qw̕l, the warrior that was here to greet the first visitors to arrive on our shores. And let's see, he looks dalit, and I want to say thank you and welcome to you, Salekwotel, for your recognition today as the Chancellor of the University of British Columbia. And it's really, really an honor for me to be able to say that, knowing that your roots come from downriver on your father's side, right down to Musqueam, over to qw̕l at Gary Point. And it's wonderful to see your journey that you have taken from Spokane all the way to here, back to Victoria as our previous Lieutenant Governor, and now the new Chancellor of the University of British Columbia. Hi, Tep Kasim. Hi, Tep Kasim. See you, Sam. Thank you.
Elder Larry Grant, Alec Dan, thank you for those words of welcome and the opening song. I would like to acknowledge that UBC's Vancouver Point Grey campus, where I join you live this morning from the Chan Center for the Performing Arts, is situated on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Musqueam people. Many of our UBC students, faculty, and staff are joining us today from our Okanagan campus, situated in the territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation and their peoples, and our Robson Square campus situated on the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. I would also like to acknowledge that you are joining us today from many places, near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. Welcome. My name is Santa Ono, and I am the President and Vice Chancellor of the University of British Columbia. Thank you for joining us online for this very special ceremony to install UBC's 19th Chancellor, the Honourable Steven Point. Wherever you're watching from, I invite you to please stand and join us in the singing of O Canada, led by our University Marshal Nancy Hermiston, Director of the Opera and Voice Program at the UBC School of Music, and accompanied by a special ensemble made up of members of the UBC School of Music and the Okanagan Symphony Wind Ensemble. Let us pause for a moment to give thanks, spiritual and temporal, for the manifold blessings we share in this wonderful world, this great nation, this blessed province, this splendid university. We give thanks especially for this most happy of occasions. Please be seated. We are pleased that the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, Her Honor, the Honourable Janet Austin, is participating in today's ceremony. Her Honor originally planned to join us live, but circumstances have prevented her from participating today as she would have liked. At this time, I'm pleased to share greetings from Her Honor.
It gives me enormous pleasure to conduct the installation of His Honor Steven Point to the office of Chancellor of UBC, an occasion that is deeply meaningful to me. First, because both His Honor and I have a special affinity for this institution. Myself, through longtime involvement in numerous UBC committees and initiatives over the years, and His Honor as a UBC alumnus, Bachelor of Laws 85. But perhaps most importantly, he is my predecessor once removed in the role of Lieutenant Governor. I have known and admired His Honor Steven by reputation for many years, and it has been one of the great joys of my time in office to get to know him personally and to claim him as a dear friend. His Honor is a person I greatly admire and hold in highest regard, someone I look to for inspiration and sound advice. And as I'm fond of telling him, I consider him my Lieutenant Governor role model. His Honor is also a superlative leader for his people and a leading champion for reconciliation. I have been inspired by his example to do my best to carry on this aspect of his legacy during my term as Lieutenant Governor, and I know that we will find common cause and occasion to continue this work together in alignment with the stated values and goals of UBC. His Honor Steven is also someone who recognizes that there are different ways to acquire knowledge. Academic learning is key, but so is life experience. UBC is an institution that values community engagement to develop skills, but also to advance social good and build a civil and sustainable society. His Honor has been a tireless champion in search of a better world for his people and has put his ambition to work in support of his community and indeed the larger communities in which we all reside, our province and our country. He understands that as citizens, we share responsibility for each other, for the health of our people, our society. I am honored to support His Honor Steven Point and to work with him in his continued service to our province and to UBC. And I can attest that UBC could not have selected a better candidate to fulfill the role of Chancellor. Today's investiture of His Honor Steven Point as Chancellor marks a new chapter in the history of UBC. I wholeheartedly embrace this future, and I thank you all for your presence as witnesses to this virtual ceremony. Haichka.
Thank you, Your Honor, for your remarks. I'm pleased now to share greetings from one of our very own UBC alumni, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada.
Hello everyone, bonjour à tous. For starters, congratulations to the Honourable Steven Lewis Point, who officially becomes the Chancellor of UBC today. And thank you to everyone who is joining us to welcome him as the university's 19th Chancellor. UBC is one of the biggest universities in Canada, and it offers an amazing range of programs, from medicine to music, social work to economics, law to pharmaceutical sciences, and of course, near and dear to my heart, your Faculty of Education. But more importantly, you prepare the bright minds of today for tomorrow. So being Chancellor is an important role. But as an alumnus of UBC with an accomplished career behind him and the first Indigenous person to hold this position, I know that Steven Lewis Point is up for it. Alors, à tout le personnel universitaire, les étudiants, les diplômés et les membres de la communauté, vous êtes entre de bonnes mains avec votre nouveau chancelier. Finally, I'd like to thank Lindsay Gordon for his 6 years as the university's Chancellor. He has inspired so many people, and his work will continue to have an impact in the future. Chancellor Point, congratulations again. I wish you all the very best in your new role. Enjoy today's ceremony. Merci à tous.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your remarks and for joining us today. I'm pleased now to introduce the Honourable John Horgan, Premier of British Columbia, to share some words with us this morning.
Premier John Horgan here. Congratulations to Steven Lewis Point on his return to the UBC community as its new Chancellor. Steven is a passionate advocate for the rights of Indigenous people here in BC, across Canada, and indeed around the world. From his years as representative of the qwЄl First Nation and the Stolo First Nations government, to his public service as a provincial court judge, then as the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, Steven has always shown great leadership, strength, and commitment to the people of this tremendous province. I know he will inspire a new generation of students, faculty, and staff at UBC. Once again, congratulations, and thank you, Steven, for your service to British Columbia.
Thank you, Premier Horgan, Chief Louis, Councillor Grant, Retired Lieutenant Colonel Watkins, and Chancellor Point, honored guests. I'm thrilled to be with you this morning as we welcome Chancellor Point to his new role. Besides his public roles presiding over all major ceremonies and convocations and representing the university in a wide range of events and activities, the Chancellor is also a great source of guidance and counsel for myself. Chancellor Point has a long record of public service and advocacy, and I look forward to working with him. I am truly honored that he has agreed to serve as Chancellor of UBC. To help me welcome Chancellor Point to his new role, it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Leslie Cormack, Deputy Vice Chancellor and Principal of UBC's Okanagan campus, to share some words of welcome. Professor Cormack?
Hello, my name is Leslie Cormack, and I have the honor of being Deputy Vice Chancellor and Principal of UBC's extraordinary Okanagan campus. It is my absolute pleasure to officially welcome Dr. Steven Lewis Point as UBC's 19th Chancellor. When one thinks of the role of University Chancellor, one often focuses on the ceremonial aspects. But it is important to remember the great deal of work and responsibility that comes with the position. Through his lifetime of service and years of working advocating for Indigenous peoples, Dr. Point offers a truly remarkable example of what it means to be a UBC alumnus, a community leader, and a citizen. So it's abundantly clear he will fulfill all aspects of being Chancellor with the utmost distinction. Dr. Point, your appointment comes at an important time in the life of the university and the country, and I can't think of a better person to serve as Chancellor. I know I speak on behalf of the entire Okanagan campus when I say I look forward to seeing what we can achieve together. Welcome, Dr. Point, and congratulations.
Thank you, Professor Cormack. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge Canadian universities who sent official greetings on the occasion of the Chancellor's installation. University of New Brunswick, St. Mary's University, Dalhousie University, McGill University, St. Francis Xavier University, Huron University College, Polytechnique Montréal, University of Manitoba, Université du Montréal, Brandon University, University of Alberta, Mount Royal University, Wilfrid Laurier University, Emily Carr University of Art and Design, Carleton University, Ryerson University, University of Waterloo, York University, Laurentian University, University of Victoria, Trent University, Simon Fraser University, University of Lethbridge, Vancouver Island University, Thompson Rivers University, MacEwan University, Concordia University, University of Regina, University of the Fraser Valley, Redeemer University, University of Northern British Columbia, and Royal Roads University. If we were able to gather in person today, our platform party would have included many representatives from those schools that I just acknowledged. We also would have had an opportunity to include chiefs and council, knowledge keepers and representatives from our host First Nations and communities, important to our guest of honor on this stage. It gives me great pleasure to welcome 3 special guests who have joined us remotely today to bear witness to today's proceedings. These individuals and I will take on this great responsibility in today's ceremony, making careful note of how the installation will unfold and sharing the experience with members of our communities who can't be here with us today. Chief Executive Council Tribal Chair, Chief Clarence Louie, Chair of the Okanagan Nation Alliance, Councillor Howard Grant of Musqueam, and retired Lieutenant Colonel Will Watkins. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. It gives me great pleasure now to preside over the installation of our new Chancellor, Chancellor Point. While circumstances limit us from being together in person for your ceremony, I invite you now to join us remotely as we begin the proceedings. I invite you to join me in hearing from 2 UBC students who will read a citation about Steven Point. Alexa Manuel Chapwicha is a UBC Vancouver student and PhD candidate in the Department of English Literature. Alexa is from the Syilx and Stetlank nations, daughter of Skayaka, Bruce Manuel, and the late Deneen McKay Brown. Dawn Machin is a UBC Okanagan Master of Science student. Dawn is a member of the Okanagan Indian Band, part of the Syilx Okanagan Nation, daughter of Lydia Lewis and Philip Machin. At the end of the citation, Alexa and Dawn invites Her Honor to administer the oath of office. In Her Honor's absence, it will be my great honor to administer the oath on her behalf.
For more than a century, the role of the Chancellor of the University of British Columbia has been entrusted to leaders who have demonstrated extraordinary commitment to a wide spectrum of service. Today, we take immense pride in welcoming qwЄl, the Honourable Steven Point, as the 19th Chancellor of UBC and as the first Indigenous person to hold the position.
Chancellor Point is a UBC alumnus who has exemplified extraordinary commitment to serving the people of British Columbia in the field of law, in legal and Indigenous education, and through his leadership in the Indigenous community. By the time he entered the UBC Faculty of Law, Chancellor Point had already served for 8 years as Chief of the Squamish First Nation. After entering private practice in 1986, he continued to lead Indigenous communities at local, regional, and provincial levels. From 1994 to 1999, he served as the Tribal Chair of the Stolo Nation and was also honored as Grand Chief by the Chiefs of the Stolo Tribal Council.
He went on to serve on an administrative tribunal in the Federal Department of Immigration and Employment, and in 1999, he was appointed a provincial court judge. In 2005, he was appointed Chief Commissioner of the British Columbia Treaty Commission, and in 2007, he was sworn in as the 28th Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia. During his term as Lieutenant Governor, he endeavored to serve as a role model to Indigenous youth and emphasized that retaining cultural identity and succeeding in education needn't be mutually exclusive objectives.
At the heart of his efforts was a literacy campaign focused on children in remote communities and encouraging literacy development through the writing of stories. During the campaign, he visited communities and met with elders, councils, and schools, after which he received stories from almost 3,000 students and took the time to write back to each one. His commitment to Indigenous education has also been evident at UBC, where he is former director of the First Nations Legal Studies program and an inspirational speaker at Allard Hall events.
Chancellor Point's service has been recognized through numerous awards and citations, highlighted by his investiture into the Order of British Columbia in 2007 and by the conferral of the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa by UBC in 2013. He has also received honorary degrees from the University of the Fraser Valley, the University of Victoria, and St. Mark's College.
It is with great eagerness that we look forward to the presence of qwЄl, the Honourable Steven Point, on both campuses of UBC, and to his participation on behalf of all alumni in shaping the future of our university.
And we take joy in the knowledge that his wisdom and guidance will be universally welcomed on the pathways of truth and reconciliation and in fulfilling UBC's lead role in the advancement of Indigenous peoples' human rights.
Your Honor, on behalf of the students, staff, faculty, alumni, senates, and Board of Governors, we ask you to formally install qwЄl, the Honourable Steven Point, as the 19th Chancellor of the University of British Columbia.
Thank you, Alexa and Don. It is now my pleasure to administer the oath of office and to install our 19th Chancellor, Steven Point. Please repeat after me. I, Steven Point, give my pledge.
One more time. I just unmuted you.
I, Steven Point, give my pledge.
To honor the duties and perform the offices of.
To honor the duties and perform the offices of.
Chancellor of the University of British Columbia.
Chancellor of the University of British Columbia.
As prescribed by law.
As prescribed by law.
To uphold its worthy traditions.
To uphold its worthy traditions.
And to promote the welfare and ideals of the university.
And to promote the welfare and ideals of the university.
For the betterment of all.
For the betterment of all.
By the authority vested in me, I now install you, Steven Point, in the office of Chancellor of the University of British Columbia. An important component of an installation ceremony is donning the robes of office. As we install Chancellor Point, we're also introducing new regalia. Our new regalia that the Chancellor and I wear acknowledges the relationship between UBC and Musqueam and UBC and the Syilx Okanagan peoples. The Indigenous components on these robes were designed by Crystal Sparrow, a third-generation Musqueam artist and carver, mentored by her late father, Irving Sparrow. In her own words, Crystal shared that she created a simple Coast Salish eye design to represent the Musqueam, Syilx Okanagan, and UBC communities who share together knowledge, distinctive cultures, and respectful relationships. There are 4 design elements. The middle circle represents people. The dart represents water. The crescent represents land. And the arrow represents everyone moving forward. The eye design also represents education as a significant role and connection within all three communities. The color red represents the Musqueam and the Sioux Okanagan Nation. The color black represents UBC. The closure at the top of the gown is adorned by two eagle clasps, representing the knowledge keepers and the distinctive cultures of the Musqueam and the Sioux Okanagan Nation. The Coast Salish eye design, in a sequence of three, adorns the front of each robe to represent the three communities. The two eagle designs symbolize all three communities upholding successful futures together. I want to extend my thanks to Crystal on behalf of the UBC community for her artistry and talent in making these new gowns come to life. Now, Mr. Chancellor, I invite your wife, Dr. Gwendolyn Point, to invest you with the robes of office. Thank you, Dr. Point. It is with great pleasure that I now introduce you to UBC's new Chancellor, the Honourable Steven Point, and I invite him to share some remarks. Chancellor Point.
Thank you. I am deeply honored to have been appointed to serve my university and to represent the more than 350,000 alumni who live and work in over 140 countries of the world. In assuming the role, I am humbled and indeed respectful of my 18 predecessors, accomplished men and women from wide-ranging backgrounds, each of whom made extraordinary contributions to their university and to their communities. It is indeed an honor to follow in their footsteps and to carry forth the traditions of UBC. I am not the first lawyer to hold this position, nor am I the first jurist. Both these distinctions belong to one of UBC's earliest and most influential pioneers, Chancellor Sherwood Lett, who served his university from 1951 to 1957. I'm not even the first former provincial lieutenant governor. That distinction is held by Chancellor Eric Hamber, who served UBC from 1944 to 1951. I am, however, the first Indigenous person to hold the position. In this context, I am particularly grateful to UBC for nominating and appointing me as your 19th Chancellor. The truth is that I take immense pride in being a graduate of this university, and for many reasons, not the least of which is its deep commitment to advancing human rights of Indigenous people and to enabling our children and grandchildren to simultaneously pursue their education and preserve their culture. I also want to say that no man travels his life journey alone, whatever accomplishments or heights he may reach or she may reach. They always have friends, family members to support them. And my life my journey has been marked by tremendous support for the last 49 years with my wife, qwên. My life support has come from my parents, my mother and my father. And along the way, too numerous to mention, some very wonderful teachers. I'd like to thank those who are responsible for me having the honor and privilege of wearing these beautiful regalias today. I look forward to serving the university in my capacity as the Chancellor. Finally, I'd like to say this. We are living in difficult times. Who would have thought that we, as Canadians in this time and age, would live through this pandemic? I'm at home delivering this presentation to you. I encourage all of you to voluntarily comply with the national guidelines around the protection from receiving or being infected by the disease of COVID. Wear your mask. Wash your hands as often as you can. Isolate yourself if you're not feeling well. Do these things voluntarily. They are not a breach of our constitutional rights, of freedom. Contrarily, they are necessary steps to preserve life, to save those who are most vulnerable in our society. I'm wearing my honorary colonel's uniform today because I'd like to remember those men and women who served in the war. But also, I'd like to encourage our Aboriginal youth to think about a career, to leave home, to learn about who you are. So once again, I thank you, President Ono, and all of those who are here today. It's truly an exciting time for me and my family, and I look forward to the next 3 years.
Thank you, Chancellor Point. It's an exciting time for the entire university. Thank you so much for your remarks. It has been an honor to be here on our virtual platform with you today. I'd now like to call on our special guests to make remarks and acknowledge the ceremony and tradition that has unfolded. I first invite Chief Louis to speak.
Limlimt, thank you. White Chaskas al halt, e peace naxiluch. Congratulations, cousin Steven Point, Honourable Steven Point. My great-grandfather came from the Stolo territory in one of your bands in Stolo country. So I can call you cousin. And I know you all represent all the First Nations people, not only in BC, but in Canada, in the US. It's very, very rare that we have one of our own become chancellor of one of the great universities in North America. So congratulations, and on behalf of all the qwЄl Okanagan bands, Osuyus, Penticton, West Bank, Okanagan Band in Vernon, the Upper and Lower Smokeamine bands and Upper Nicola bands, our people, so many of our youth have gone to university at UBC and at UBC Okanagan, that's where leadership often starts. And I love your quote that you just said, to leave home, to learn about who you are. I did that going to university. You did that. So many of our chiefs and councils have done that. And we are so proud of you. And I know you'll represent all the people, all the First Nations people on Turtle Island with such honor and grace. Limlimt in my language. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Louis, for those words. I now call upon Councillor Grant.
Thank you, President Ono, for calling me as a witness to this great celebration. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the singer that started our day off in a good way, qwmêl, Alec Dan. The song that he sang was the warrior song of qwêl, the warrior. I am qwêl the seventh, the direct descendant of qwêl, the warrior, the man who met Captain Vancouver as he arrived upon these shores. I also would like to thank Elder Grant for his kind words to start us off in this good way. I wish to thank the University of British Columbia for selecting the Honourable Steven Point as its next Chancellor. qwêl's appointment is celebrated not only in the Indigenous communities here in British Columbia, but also across Canada. It is most fitting that Mr. Point be chosen as the first Indigenous Chancellor of UBC. The roots of Mr. Point's ancestors, his father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and those that preceded that time run deep in this, the unceded traditional territory of the Musqueam people. It is the cultural teachings and the traditions of our Musqueam people to pay honor to Steven Point, qwêl, by blanketing him and providing him with those words that our ancestors gave to us to help guide us. But because of this pandemic, COVID-19, we're unable to fulfill this blanketing in person. But we want you to know it is in the hearts and minds of our people that Steven be wrapped in a blanket as he embraces his new role. When this pandemic is over and allows us once again to be together in person, we will all gather again, along with the other witnesses, to return and fulfill our cultural teachings in order to honor Steven Point properly. As a witness, I will carry the words and the things that I've seen today to many of our friends and relatives who were unable to attend and participate in today's event as part of my responsibility as a witness. I would like to once again thank the President Ono and the university for calling us together and for me to be a witness to this wonderful, wonderful, momentous ceremony today. To qwêl, I raise my hands to you and I ask you to remember the voices of our ancestors that echo throughout the many, many territories and forests of our lands and waters that have taught us to look after each other, our families, our environment, and to go forward in a good way to become educated and learn to evolve as a people. So I raise my hands to you and to the university and saying thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Grant, for sharing with us. Next, I invite retired Lieutenant Colonel Watkins to speak.
Good morning, Vice Chancellor Ono, Your Honor, the Honourable Janet Austin, distinguished guests and fellow witnesses. It is a great honor for me to be here as a witness for His Honor, Honorary Colonel Steven Lewis Point, for his installment as UBC's 19th Chancellor. I met Colonel Point through my volunteer work as the Regimental Secretary for 39th Service Battalion, a Canadian Army Reserve unit headquartered here in Richmond, BC. I bring congratulations to him on this auspicious occasion from the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Sylvain Gagné, and all ranks of the regimental family. Following his retirement as the 28th Lieutenant Governor of BC, his honor was appointed the Honorary Colonel in 2014. Honorary Colonels are appointed by the Queen's Canadian representative along with the Government of Canada. As the Honorary Colonel, he is afforded all the same courtesies as any commissioned officer in the Canadian Armed Forces. For Colonel Point, this was a natural continuation of his long service to the people of Canada, where he excelled in building the cultural bridges between all peoples. In his role as our regimental guardian, we have benefited from his vast experience in supporting the welfare and education of our citizen soldiers in their service to Canada. For my part, our time together has evolved into a personal friendship where he's welcomed me into his family as a brother. Through his patience and sharing, Steven has the unique ability to bring people of different backgrounds together. In this way, he has truly lived up to his motto, Lat Samet, Salish for one mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, retired Lieutenant Colonel Watkins. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for joining us today for this special ceremony and congratulate our Chancellor Steven Point on his installation. It has been very special for me to be here live and sharing the virtual stage with Chancellor Point and our other special guests to witness this special ceremony and represent the UBC community, our students, faculty, staff, and alumni, as we welcome and install our new Chancellor. I'm grateful to you, Chancellor Point, for returning to UBC, for taking on this role, and for the many lessons I know that we will learn from you as a leader in our community. Friends, this brings our celebration and ceremony to a close. I hope that you have enjoyed it as much as I have. As the ceremony concludes, I invite you to continue this celebration by visiting virtualgraduation.ubc.ca/chancellor to read more about our new Chancellor and view official greetings from our other Canadian universities. Thank you for joining us today. As we close this ceremony, I invite you to listen to the Okanagan Traveling Song performed by Amber Cardenas. I know that you will join me in congratulating, once again, the 19th Chancellor of the University of British Columbia, the Honourable Steven Point.